Good morning, Quasar Markets Live. I am here with the man himself, BigBeat, Stephen Orr. How are you doing today, Steve?
I'm good, Howard. Look, here's another day. We've talked about it for about 2 weeks, and wow, Christine Lagarde says everything is fine, life is good, and we're cutting rates again in Europe. ECB now cutting rates once again. Another 20. The Bank of England now cutting rates. I think everybody over there is cutting rates now. I think they're getting it. I think they're getting the picture. United States will follow suit with cutting rates here in March as well. So listen, yeah, you know what? We talked about it. You talked about it with Steve Flanagan the other day about the half point. He's right. They're behind the eight ball once again, and this is what's happening, right? So look, I think at some point these rate cuts are going to start filtering in and could help bolster the market a bit. You saw exactly what happened when you cut the rates over there. The pound fell, and that makes it a lot cheaper for products in the UK. So I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense here in the United States right now, not cutting rates.
Absolutely. The pound, Steve Flanagan, as you mentioned, Mr. Currency himself, he nailed it yesterday. He told us, they need to move a half a point, but he predicted they would move a quarter point. He was right, too. A couple of the governors came out and did vote for a half point, made it clear that they're more dovish there. So we'll see what we get out of there. Earnings are leading the day today, huh? Seeing some big jumps here. I have on the things I'm watching, Peloton up 18%. You have Tapestry up 19% on earnings. On the other side of that, you have, some downgrades here and, some big losers when it comes to SWKS.
Yeah.
Is down here almost 27%. Skyworks on news that Apple is cutting their orders. So bad news there, leading the markets down.
You know what's missing in the markets right now, Howard? It's very simple. And I've said this for a while. It's just straight up common sense. We've talked about it from drugs like Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk. People are on the weight loss drugs. I know personally, right? And you look at those stocks are up. And I've said it. People are buying gold hand over fist at Costco. And people, right now I saw a video where people are going in with pallets buying eggs. They don't care the price is going up. They're just buying eggs. Guess what? Costco's up 10%. I mean, this is common sense. This is what I call, thesis trading. When your charts are great until the news actually hits, right? And the charts don't mean anything anymore. But here you go, and you're looking at it from the perspective of common sense, and these things are now happening. We talked about it from the perspective this morning of labor statistics, BLS, the new numbers coming out. Jolt's numbers came out 2 days ago, and they said, look, there's just not as many jobs out there, and people are resigning. And you're now going to see a big here's what you're going to see. You're going to see the government, and I think you're seeing this with Doge now, going through with Elon Musk, cutting the education department, now going to go through IRS, at Department of Treasury, Trez, as we call it in Washington. Look, these things are happening, and you're going to see a big number of people coming into the market looking for a job, and this is going to affect the markets. So, when we look at the future, you're looking at Costco buying eggs, you're looking at people, weight loss drugs, and you're looking at new people in the unemployed line. Things are not really kosher right now. So yes, we need to lower rates. And I said this on Schwab the other day with Nicole, and I said, look, I think we're going to see a rate cut. And I'm excited about that because I know it's going to happen. Because if we don't, and there were two reasons I said it. Obviously, the economy. But number two was we have a new president. And you're already seeing Scott Bessent, the new Treasury Secretary, already screaming about those cuts. And we're going to get them because we have a new president.
Yeah, get into those jobless claims. And we know from talking to our man, Paul Valleja here inside Quasar Markets, who is the CEO of Capital Hire, that their jobs aren't out there to fill. In other words, these folks that are getting laid off, there's nowhere for them to go. I was talking to a couple of folks, as you know, over at U.S. Treasury the other day and asked them, they taking the buyout? Curious to see what they were saying. And no. Because
they're not taking a buyout. They got the cushy job. Why would I take a buyout?
And there isn't necessarily a place for them to go right now. So there's a lot of angst in DC. I can tell you that at that level. And I think joblessness is going to be raising its ugly head a little bit. Turmoil around the world too. Oil prices bounce back. Steve, you talked about it yesterday. Is probably a buying opportunity, and boom, it bounced right back. In that Saudis made it clear that they're hiking crude prices for their Asia.
Right.
So, You brought that up. Bank of England, like we talked about. The thing that I'm very excited about is it seems to be a stock picker's market again. We seem to be people looking at actual earnings, forward guidance, and
Right.
make decisions. I get so mad at the meme craze, especially coming from the world of crypto and people just chasing things. Whereas right now you're sort of seeing the winners and losers. We saw so many earnings. Eli Lilly, like you talked about, their revenue soared 45%. Led by those, the weight loss drugs that we know so much about, diabetes drugs also.
And you heard from Eli Lilly's CEO saying that, hey, we think we're gonna get approved in the Medicare and Medicaid. If that's the case, older people getting obesity drugs will help those heart rates, right? It may help other drugs that they're spending money on. I know that the weight loss drugs are expensive right now. They'll come down in price, and they always do. But this is a mass marketing that could be good for all Americans right now.
Yeah, they had some interesting stuff also, as you've talked about. What would we see this year? Merger and acquisitions. They remain on track to close a purchase of Scorpion Therapeutics and P13K inhibitor program from them. Again, they also have seen that Zepbound is now being approved not only for weight loss, but also to help with sleep apnea.
It works. I'll tell you that much right now. It's working for me. So,
as someone who's gone on vacation with you in the past, I know that you carry around your CPAP. So for sure, there. Jumping ship here a little bit, going into Qualcomm and chips. They had nice earnings too. So Qualcomm having a nice day this morning also.
We talked about that yesterday, right? With Qualcomm, with chipsets, obviously, in the double-sided chipset now with having the wireless on one side and the Wi-Fi on the other side. And I tell you what, if everything goes well, the cell phones will have 3 or 4 chips in it. They'll have one for Wi-Fi, one for wireless, one for your AI, one for, my goodness, could even have one for Elon Musk Starlink. Your phone works everywhere.
Yeah, and they regained the 200-day MA. So from a technical approach too here, I really am interested maybe in Qualcomm for a play today if it can hold above that 200-day MA for a little bit of a swing trade here. As again, I do think earnings are winning and not so much broad market up and down based upon the news. We're getting back into a place where we can start to trade a little bit. On the downside also, Ford, you spoke about this, cars going to get hurt so much by the tariff talk and everything going on there. Ford getting hit here today, down a little over 5.5%. I also saw they got some downgrades immediately. RBC, Deutsche Bank, Bank of America, all downgraded them too overnight. So they're definitely going to be under some fire today. You start to find a level where you get interested with them, Steve?
I mean, German banks downgrading U.S. car makers. I'm shocked, right? Look, Deutsche Bank's going to be upgrading BMW and Mercedes, right? I get that. Look, Ford is still the stalwart here in the United States, General Motors as well, and you're going to continue to see that. Now, if the tariff war heats up and it starts to hit Europe as we think it might, the cars for BMW and Mercedes and those Audis will actually go down a little bit but people who buy those vehicles, and I have an X5 myself, we continue to buy BMW, right? Because it's really the car. But Ford is for the masses and will continue to be. And I'll tell you, the SUV version of the Ford and Ford Bronco have been very popular. So Ford has been on the probably last 4 years, been beaten over the head, browbeaten by the Biden administration to make EVs. And they're saying, look, we know how to make cars. Let us do it our way. And they're working on that. So, they're still going to make EVs, and we know that, but they're probably not going to be making as many now. So I like that a lot.
I will say I'm also interested here. I've had a couple of really good longer-term swing trades with long-term dated options on plays on Ford. And in this 940 area, it's the 52-week low. I do think tariffs are weighing on it. I'm not jumping in today, but if we do think, as Steve Flanagan's talked about, that this tariff talk is going to end quickly, I could see Ford as a beneficiary then, because a lot of these downgrades are based upon the fact that they do a lot of cross-pollination between Mexico, Canada, and the U.S. when building cars.
That's right. And when the stock's under $10 on Ford, I buy $10 long-dated calls. It's very simple.
Yeah, exactly. You and you taught me that during COVID. I thank you so much. It's been one of my better trades over the last few years. Every year I hit it once.
Right.
Quite honestly, is what it sort of is. It's in that area. Again, we don't tell people what to buy. We just tell you the setups we're seeing.
And a lot of reason is because the people that work at Ford also buy Ford stock too, right? So that also helps keep that price elevated as well. And you see institutional buying of Ford as well, because it is a U.S. company. So anytime it's under $10, especially under $9.50, $10 calls, long dated calls are usually good. If you want to strangle it, I can understand that. Around the $10 handle, I can understand that. But for me, it's long dated naked calls over 10, probably September, October, November, December, somewhere. December's are usually the best.
Yep. Well, I do see we have our first guest of the day lined
up
and ready to go today. And this time I didn't have to screw up the computer 17 times as he tries to come on here. Let's bring to the stage himself, Jay Woods. Mr. Woods, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's good to join you, gentlemen. Can you both hear me? Or we have any tech issues today? Or are we good?
No. We got a new system here at Quasar that Steve put in place. So we're ready to go now.
Yeah, you guys are looking better than ever. So it's good to join you guys.
Man, I love Jay Woods. Everybody knows that, but it's that goddamn Saquon Barkley jersey behind him. The Philadelphia Eagles.
You heard of him?
Super Bowl again. Oh my goodness gracious.
Yeah, that was it's been a good run. We're not done yet. We'll see what happens on Sunday.
Right.
But the market doesn't want the Eagles to win, but I know I don't care. I'll take a portfolio hit and a 6% loss like we did in 2018.
Let's talk about that.
At least we know your loyalties lie.
I saw you on the club with Nicole, our friend Nicole, and you were talking about that, right? You were talking about why the market does not want Philadelphia. Can you explain why the market in sports, especially in this case, doesn't want to see the Eagles win the Super Bowl?
Nah, well, it's all for fun. These stats are fun. The Super Bowl indicator's been around forever. In fact, up until around 2000, the stat was you always rooted for the NFC or one of the original national. What was it? The National Football Conference, and before the merger. Yeah, you wanted the NFC to win because there was like a 77% chance the market would rally. And then after 2000, this guy named Tom Brady came around, Patrick Mahomes. And the AFC has been on a tremendous run. It's thrown the numbers off, so it's really irrelevant. So what I did, because I'm an Eagle fan, is I went back this weekend and I looked, and I'm like, all right, the Eagles are in 4 of these things now, and we're only up an average of 4% when they show up. And then the one time they won, we were down 10% the week before and the week after. That was 2018 when the trade war began with China. And we finished the year down. So if you are superstitious, then you don't want the Eagles. The Chiefs, however, they've been in it 6 times. On average, it's up 18.5% when they're in the bowl. And then when they've won, it's 15.9, just under 16% when they actually win. So, yeah, if someone is that crazy to believe that the victor of the Super Bowl will dictate the market, then you want to root for the Chiefs. To me, I just know that the better team, position by position, outside the quarterback, is definitely the Philadelphia Eagles.
All right. Well, this morning, Bank of England cut rates again. Some people wanted half a basis point, 50 basis points. Some didn't. They got 25. Christine Lagarde last week said everything is fine. We've got some room to move. But what's going on with Europe?
What's going on with Europe? They're a little kind of, it's a mishmash of information we're getting out of there. I think they're more on guard watching what we're going to do because they don't know where the dominoes are going to fall as far as President Trump goes. So maybe they're setting the table, preparing for what could be a trade war. If you look at it if we go after China, which, that could happen, it could benefit the Europeans. So they lower rates now, and all of a sudden, they're a little more attractive of a trading partner with the Chinese. I don't know. I don't follow the Bank of England as closely because and we had this debate before. We talked about Canadian rates, and I'm like, they're not going to affect. We lead here in this country.
King
So
Dollar.
I'm following an interesting comment that came out from Scott Bessent. Is he wants the 10-year lowered. Okay, well, what are we going to do about that? Let's this is the rhetoric that I'm a little concerned about. I like an independent Fed. I actually one of the few people that actually like Jerome Powell. He's boring as hell, but he kind of tells it and navigates where things are going. Yes, he's been late to raise rates, and then he probably shouldn't have raised them as quickly and as fast or as high as he did. I think we're in kind of a sweet spot, a digestion area with our own rates. And I don't see us cutting anytime soon, but the rhetoric to do so will be very interesting. So I think we're on pause at least through the March meeting.
I mean, I said I think I'm expecting a rate cut, mainly because Scott Bessent and Trump are pounding the table saying, hey, we want a rate cut.
Yeah, it won't matter. Jerome Powell doesn't care. He made that abundantly clear, and you're not going to fire him. He's got another year to go, April 2026. If the data somehow changes or he says he's seeing positive things in the data, then maybe he'll go that route. But he's a Trump nominee. He is at an age where he gives no, he doesn't care. It's a kid show, right? I'm not going to start cursing.
No, you can say it's okay.
But he, to me, Jerome Powell has been, steady the course. We'll see. There were a couple of dissenters. Michelle Baumann seems to be more on the Trump side of things. At least before, she didn't want that rate cut until I think Trump came to office, from what I understand. That's conjecture on my part. But the whole thing that I see is he wants to maintain the independence of the Fed, and I think he's going to continue to do that. And whatever rhetoric we get, we saw it before. We saw Trump yell and scream after press conferences in 2018, 2019. So he's got enough things to worry about than what the Fed's doing. I don't think the Fed is the major issue right now. I think tariffs and the trade war potentially brewing are what's going to move the market, at least over the near term. And then we'll focus on rates. That'll be more of a second half story to me.
I mean, if you talk about trade tariffs and the trade war itself, that might have been the shortest trade war in history.
Well, it was kicked down for 30 days. We'll see what happens. But yeah, this is the thing. He's using everything as a negotiating tactic, and it worked this time. So, let's see if that is his new go-to when it comes to trying to get people to come to the table. We'll see what it does with the European Union and NATO negotiations. But, as someone that's watching the market like we do every tick by tick, it causes a little angst, and it can be fun to trade, but it's very unpredictable. And the market, the old cliche, like certainty. And we have none of that right now in the world. What I'm looking at is it's earnings season. And I know, Howard, you rattled off a ton of them before we hit the air. And to me, during earnings season, given some of the setups as a technician, I look for opportunities. And I've seen some of these bigger stocks come in, and now they're getting interesting again. And then I see a few. Look at Tesla this morning. Can you punch up a Tesla chart? Look at that ascending triangle breaking down. That's not a good little pattern we're seeing right now.
And
so you got a nice run up after the election, 100%, by the way.
Someone said that Tesla breakdown. Can you hear me? Someone said that Tesla breakdown is Elon Musk not being liked over internationally.
Yeah. German car sales were down 59%. That came out yesterday. No one really talked about it. I'm sure you did. I know I mentioned it a few times. But it's breaking down. And, if you're Tesla, I know it's technology. It's one of these cold stocks that I have trouble talking about, because whenever I say anything negative, the DMs and all the comments go crazy. But right now, technically, it had a nice run. It's a continuation pattern that looks like it's failing, and it has another leg lower, in my opinion. And then if you put it as a car company, look at Ford today. Look at what GM has been doing. These tariffs were going to crush them, and GM had a good quarter, by the way. Ford did not. And if you look at Tesla, which I don't think anyone does, as a car company, their car sales have been horrible. Autonomous driving keeps getting kicked down the road, but what's been crushing it? Waymo. No one talks about Waymo and Alphabet. Now, Alphabet had a rough go of it yesterday. It had a breakout. It was a little bit of a fake out. Now we get the shakeout. Yes, I used the word out 5 times in a row. But you want to watch this stock over the long term because 3 of its 4 metrics outside of cloud, which everyone focused on, hit, and they hit pretty hard. YouTube, boom, nailed it. Search advertising, crushed it. And then Waymo is expanding into Tokyo. Okay, we have 10 big cities now in the United States where we have autonomous driving, and the rollout is slow. But what they lack is this magnanimous leader who's out there promoting it. They just keep, they keep hitting singles. They're Tony Gwynn. They're not flashy, but my God, at the end of the day, this is a Hall of Fame stock, and you want to be in it.
Okay. I mean, I think I was the opposite the other day. Before earnings came out, I said I think Google would miss on earnings. They beat by 2 pennies, but the Google Cloud really bothered me. As somebody who uses Google Cloud and AWS here, I can tell you that Google Cloud is really having some issues.
Yeah, well, and it is, and the spend is big, and the DeepSeek story has not gone away. So we've had back-to-back Mondays where we've gotten up and we're like, what is going on? I mean, we knew Sunday night, but you wake up Monday and we're getting sell-offs, and we've been able to digest it. The S&P 500 back over 6,000, extremely resilient. But what is interesting is the leadership. So these Mag 7 stocks, I think Meta is the only one, and Amazon reports today after the bell, if I'm not mistaken. The only ones at new highs. Everything else is starting to falter. Yet the market is hanging in there. I looked at the REITs. REITs look like they want to break out. They're finally coming back a little bit. Number one sector. Do you know what the number one sector year to date is so far?
Probably oil.
No, it's healthcare. Healthcare, energy, materials, all the beaten down stocks in the last month or two of last year are coming back. So we're still seeing that rotation, but gold is breaking out to new highs. That's concerning. Small caps are the second best performer of the big indexes, the Dow being number one. That's not the leadership you want to see in a bull market, but right now, it's kind of holding us up. So you got to watch each Mag 7 individually. I don't like Tesla. Google's holding on. Microsoft is, if you bought it last year at this time, congratulations, you're even. The stock has gone nowhere for a year. And Microsoft, by the way, goes back to your story on the cloud. That's why they were hyper-focused on it with Google. All this CapEx spending is going to the cloud and AI infrastructure, and that's where you're supposed to see the biggest growth. They're seeing growth, but not to the level of their spend. And that is a huge concern. And then when you put this on the backdrop, where there may be a Chinese technology in DeepSeek that can do it faster and cheaper and take less energy, it's too good to be true. And I doubt it is true, but it hasn't been debunked just yet. So that is a cloud hanging over their cloud issues.
We definitely have seen the Mag 7 now moving not in tandem, but starting to be a stock picker's market. You're happy to finally see this sort of work its way out. I know I was frustrated the last couple of months. It was tweet analysis over technical analysis. People like you and I don't like that usually. Seems to be today and this week at least, we're starting to get that come back where the charts are king again.
Yeah, I mean, it's the oldest cliche in the book, but it's never been more apropos. It's a stock picker's market. When you talk about some healthcare stocks that are rallying, and then you look down, you see Eli Lilly, Pfizer, Merck, and Bristol Myers now all getting hammered. Merck broke down to another 52-week low. Pfizer had great earnings, can't lift itself off the mat. This is just weird, but healthcare is leading. So you look at under the hood at what's leading there. So that is the antithesis of a stock picker's market when you have a sector that's breaking out, but some of the biggest names in the sector are not. And then when you look at the XLRE, we're talking rates, we're talking mortgage rates. Maybe, just maybe, mortgage rates have peaked. I know that's another thing we're going to hear a lot about. We're focused on egg prices right now, but and maybe Donald Trump gives a hen to everybody, and then the problems are solved. We grow our own eggs. How much would it cost to give every American a hen? And do hens lay the eggs? Yeah, hens are the female.
Yeah,
I just want to make sure.
Hens do lay the eggs.
All right.
A chicken in every pot. I mean,
there you go.
Yeah, back to a chicken in every pot.
Problem
for
solved.
sure.
You know, if this goes back to the White House, I may be like the Secretary of Agriculture nominee in the next.
I would be the first person to vote for that one. I like that idea.
There you go.
Okay, so let's talk about it real quickly. You just mentioned gold and precious metals,
Yeah.
Hitting all-time highs. It seems silver $32 is holding here pretty steady.
So silver's been holding steady forever. It never can follow through and break out. That is one that, you watch. It reminds me, another chart is UNG, natural gas. Like, here it comes. And it just never makes that big move. You have this big pattern, a lot to reverse, and boom, we can just never get it going. That's why I stick to equities, guys. It just makes a little more sense to me. But yeah, when I look at these charts, they look very attractive, but they've never shown me anything. Gold, though, has been the one juggernaut there. Uranium is another one to watch. Not that it's a precious, but what would you say uranium is? It's not a precious metal, is it?
I would say I'd call it more energy than anything.
Yeah. But you look
metal.
at that energy story, that hasn't gone away. You look at stocks like Oklo, or Oklo, sorry, pronouncing it wrong, that just continue to crush it. This nuclear story hasn't gone away. This is becoming.
Are you a fan of Vistra at all in that sector?
Which one?
Vistra, VST.
Vistra is a monster. Yeah, I mean, these are stocks that you want to kind of be in, because when they go, they go. This was beaten down. Why? Because of DeepSeek. NEE is one that hasn't lifted its head off the ground. Constellation looks exactly like that one. GE Vernova looks exactly like that one. GEV.
Yeah.
I think they're giving you buying opportunities, unless you believe the Chinese really are coming to the table with a competitor. Once we dig into that, you're going to find out they stole all of our chips and our data, and they're just ripping us off.
Steve's been all over that
it's
already.
a scam, but we haven't proven it otherwise. So what I've been doing, though, is honestly just earnings season. You're going through each one. The sectors are kind of screwy right now, so you look under the hood and you do the stock pickers thing. Look at a stock like Roblox today. Here's an interesting move. The stock has been in a tremendous uptrend. It's getting crushed. You have support at 60. It's trading, I think, 62 last I looked before we open. Are we open? No, 2 more minutes. This one, like Google yesterday, had a nice run, a little bit of a breakout, and now is coming back. Where did Google come back? It came back to a nice area of support, right around this 290 area, 288 to 291. Roblox now trading 60.62. I'd probably let it shake out another day or so, but this one could be interesting.
But I think with Roblox, are kids actually playing Roblox anymore?
I don't know what kids are doing anymore. These kids are very different than us. They're still on their TikTok an hour a day. Snapchat, I didn't know that was still a thing, but they had earnings the other day. After hours, the stock was up 12%, and then it faded. Talk about a stock that's gone nowhere fast for ages. But here may be an opportunity, because overall the earnings weren't that bad. But it's in a long-term neutral range. There is good risk reward set up. You have support here. But the upside isn't too great either. But for a trade, maybe today, tomorrow, you take a little flyer and you get a quick 5%, maybe 10% to the upside there. So that's how I'm looking at it. But overall, the trends are kind of choppy now. Even the S&P 500, we continue to hang in there. I know I got very bearish at the end of December, where I figured I thought we would have a 10% correction coming. It was 5. The NASDAQ was 7. The Dow was 7. It didn't shake out, but I don't think we're out of the woods. We have a little bit of a double top here at 6,100. We're struggling to keep our footing. The headlines are extremely volatile.
We're open right now.
We are open, and we're up small.
Yep, a little bit.
Yeah. It seems like a kind of quiet day. We'll wait to see what shakes out Friday with the unemployment number. And then next week we get back on track with some more inflationary data. And then, of course, we have Coke and McDonald's earnings. I know everyone's waiting for those. But
sure. What about my favorite NVIDIA? What about my favorite
NVIDIA? Yeah, it's everyone's favorite. What's not to love about this company, except we've got more questions than answers right now with some new competition in the market. This one is broken, in short term at least, and you have clear lines in the sand. And this is where technicians get a bad rap. I'd rather buy it above 227, 228 than buy it right now. So I may miss 5 points to the upside to get there. But we broke a major line of support. We broke a key moving average for the first time in roughly 2 years. So it's got some work to do before it comes back. We do have earnings on the 26th, and earnings have been very good to them. What you could see here is a possible island reversal on some good news and a gap back up to that range. But right now, I'm staying on the sidelines of this one. Long-term holders, just hold it. Don't worry about it. But if you're looking to get in right now, it's not giving us that today's the day signal. I'd rather buy it on some strength. And there's just too much going on for me to say, like, let's just jump back in it. The whole semiconductor, the SMH is another, interesting level. If I was to pick Broadcom or NVIDIA right now, I pick Broadcom technically. If I was to pick, if you ask me what I thought of AMD, no, it's just can never really get back. I mean, maybe we get a V bottom here and a nice little quick rebound, but that is a downtrend and it just broke down. There are better places to be. So I still like the software side of things, the IGV. The IGV has been where you're seeing some of the strength, but that, look, break down the IGV, Howard. Talk about stock pickers market. There's some real dogs in there. Microsoft is a big part of it. It's been sideways doing nothing. Adobe's part of it. Adobe's trash. If you look at it on a chart, it had a nice diamond top, broke down, still has another 50 points to the downside by my calculations. And then when you think about Adobe, that was Photoshop. I think we've moved on. But the IGV to me is where the strength is. You have good companies like Oracle, Salesforce in there. So that is pretty good. Watch Palantir. What's Palantir doing this morning? Holding that $100 level?
Yeah, it was. Let's see here.
Boeing's pushing here.
Holding 100.
Yeah. I mean, I think it should hold this gap and consolidate, maybe come in a little bit, but over the long term, as we go in the next couple months, they will probably rally into earnings and not fill this gap. So the strength is just too tremendous in this stock. It's one of my favorites, and my son is in this one. He's like, should I sell it? And he only has 2 shares. I'm like, just hold this one, just put this one away. This one is good for a few more years, especially given the administration and their relationship there. I think it's a positive.
Will your son be going down to the floor of the New York Stock Exchange on a stool?
What's that? He's going to be in Philly watching the Eagles because he goes to school there. So he and his sister both are in Philadelphia watching that game together. I'll be in a city called New Orleans to watch the game. So I can't wait to get out of here. I hope this weather doesn't screw up my plans. But
should be okay. You should be okay. Well, Jay, I appreciate you coming on the show. We'll have you here if you want. Come back a week after week if you'd like, and we'll do it again.
Yeah. I'll join you when I can. Guys, keep up the good work, and congrats to everyone at Quasar. You guys are doing good things.
Thanks a lot, Jay. We appreciate it.
Thanks.
Okay, BigBeat. That guy gave us tons of insight there, just tons of insights. I do see Ron is up and working this morning. He's asking us what we think about ASTS today. Here, Steve, I'll pull up the chart. I have that.
Yeah, I mean, ASTS, I like it.
About 6% here today.
We've talked about this one several times. I do like the space theme here for me, and I think it will continue to push higher. Anything right now in space, because you have a president who is listening to Elon Musk, who wants to go to Mars. There is a space race back to the moon again. And I'll tell you, the world is round, and the moon is there, and we have landed on it. So Look, and we're going back, and there's a reason for it, because we want to land on the moon. We want to be there as a new lunar module base, right? So that we can go to Mars a lot easier, make the trip faster. And I think everything that's in this space is going to do very, very well. But ASTS especially will do very well on this one.
Yeah, it just cleared some key resistance here. It is breaking out. You got a nice play here to that 30 to 31 zone for a short scalp. I will warn you, though, you can see I've already marked it here. I watched the stock pretty well, and it has hit, multiple tops at that 32 level right now. Any breakthrough that puts you right up towards that 40 level. And I did see the Cantor Fitzgerald gave him a price target of 30, so about a 5% upside.
All right.
And a 38.04, though, is their average analyst price. So they still have some nice upside on the average analyst. He's also asking us to take a look at BP this morning.
I mean, BP, it's, when you have a cheaper pound over there, yeah, most definitely. When the pound goes down, they have oil. It's cheaper to buy oil there. I think BP will do very well. Yeah.
From a technical side, Ron, I'd want to see it break through the 200-day MA and hold at 33.10, sitting at 32.21 right now. Just like Jay just mentioned, I'm willing to give up a couple of points here, get some confirmation over a key technical level, and then watch for it to move towards the upside from there. And then he asked if Merck's a buy. That would be in Steve's wheelhouse there when you get into the healthcare. I am not an expert.
I think you heard Jay talk about Merck earlier, and he said, what's the number one? And I said energy, and he said, no, it's not. He said yes, but not the number one. Number one is healthcare. As most of you know, I bought at 88.30. I'm still long. It's 89.50. I'm not too worried about it. That dropped from $100 down to where we are now at 89.36. I like, if you're looking to play this one, I am in it long term because I know what Merck does. They make great drugs, and they're a good company, and they have a good distribution, and they are very good at acquisitions. And this is a good time.
You beat me to it. I was just about to ask you that question. Would they be one right now? As we talked about earlier today, we're seeing some more mergers and acquisitions within that field, talked about by Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk in their earnings reports. So that gives you a good little feed there from Steve on that. As we start to look at what's going on here, tick is starting to move a little bit negative. Advanced decline is positive at 1806 today. So we are seeing that. VIX is coming back down to 1570. So we are getting to that area. I like to tell everybody towards that 1314. What do we want to do? Buy the protection when you don't need it. That's how you play the VIX. Scott Bauer was on talking about that this week. We want to make sure you're looking at that. So VIX is one I would be keeping an eye on. Steve, I know we got to talk a little bit about gold. You've been all over it lately. Did hit a new all-time high overnight, 28.82, excuse me.
I've said it until I'm blue in the face. We're going to $3,000 an ounce. The market does not like this nonsense and back and forth. And so because of it, people are moving money into gold and precious metals. And that's why you heard it again from Jay. Silver is pretty not struggling. It's just staying above, but $32 handle on silver, continue to go higher. And I think you're going to talk to Mr. Thomas later today.
I was about to say at 2:00. That's a great question to ask Peter Thomas, the guy who is the legend when it comes to metals. CEO.
But I think he likes palladium, right? More than anything.
Yeah, he brought that up to us as we were talking about the interview coming up today. He is interested in palladium, so make sure you tune in at 2:00. I'll have him here live. We'll ask him about palladium. I have some questions about spot gold versus ETFs right now with threat of tariff. Is it maybe a swing where you look to buy the ETFs and spot is going to come under these tariffs? So got some questions for him: silver, palladium, copper. So Peter Thomas, again, he learned under the Hunt brothers, one of the best in the business, if not the best in the business, and a key contributor here at Quasar Markets on at 2:00. Bitcoin sitting right around 99, Steve, 98.6 here. Seems to have stabilized. Seems like the leverage has come down a little bit there. So I do think some of the volatility is moving away there. I did see the CEO of Lightspeed on CNBC this morning. He echoed again, another guy with $1 million in the next 10 years. That will be the price of Bitcoin. So again, another industrialist that does see the upside in Bitcoin here. So as I told everybody in our chat, make sure you have your bags full, guys.
Looking at Alphabet here. Where are we on Alphabet here? Google.
191.34 down 1.01%.
If they're not careful, they could really lose a lot of air in their tires. If they get below that last little bit there.
50-day MA, yeah. I mean, you got
below the day 190.49. If we break below that, look out below because we could see even lower. It could go down to about 186 there, somewhere around there.
Yeah, 180 to 186 would be the
next.
There's
a big gap down there all the way to the
right here.
So that could fill that gap. Be careful.
Yeah. You know, Google definitely under a little bit of fire here. Tesla, the one that Jay just talked about with more downside, down another 2.35%. And what he's pointed out is there's downside all the way to this gap fill if it doesn't hold. It's got a level of support at 335 that you'll see, but not much support there. A little bit of support here at the 310, and you don't really see a solid support line till that 266, 270 area. So Tesla, as he said, definitely has some downside on it. I do think Elon is upsetting the apple cart a lot there.
100%.
NVIDIA still bouncing up here a little bit, 125.89 this morning here.
That big sell-off in FedEx over the last few days, man, that thing could be easily picked up there. I think FedEx is looking really good.
Trading at 254.
Yeah, it could clear. It could pop that gap then real quick.
Right there, 265. Yeah, any kind of break above
260 call there, man. I could see that.
255 would probably send that up towards that 265 level. This has a pretty good. We talk about asymmetric risk, right, that we want to look for. Pointed out here on the chart, you can see that back in this area here, you have a nice little support zone you found in that 244, 245 zone, right? And you got a gap fill up here to 265 and even towards this 275 area where you have the convergence of the 50 and 200-day MA you could look at. So FedEx is set up pretty well for an asymmetric trade where you're looking at a stop loss in that 244 area here.
Yeah.
Let's see what else is clicking here. Tick is still sliding down here. QQQ 527.10. Sort of not really in a zone I like here. We've seen this repetitive sort of move here where we've seen the move up and then we come down, the move up, we come down, move up, we come down, move up, we come down. I feel like we're in that same zone still. I would need to see QQQ break a solid breakthrough about that 531 level for me to feel that that's got the upside movement here. Also looking at a daily chart as I covered it up with 8,000 drawings. So that would be one that I think you'd have to be a little bit more cautious about here. And our early morning movers, we talked about Peloton continuing to move up here, 25% now.
Yeah.
Strong.
I mean, the weight loss craze is picking up everywhere, right? It's not just about the drugs. It's also about diets. It's also about all kinds of things. So, yeah, I mean, I'm seeing that everywhere.
Yeah, I saw an interesting one. They're moving into the world of MMA sort of training that I thought was interesting too. Yeah. So Peloton is one of those companies that has sort of realized that you know, their ride on the bike, you know, is sort of over, and they have sort of reinvented themselves into a software company, right? A lot of different trainings that you can do there, trying to sort of replace your gym would be the way that I would word it.
And we just had a whole show here, and we haven't talked about Bitcoin this morning.
Yeah, like I said, you know, it's sort of in a dull moment here over the last 24 hours. Hasn't really done much. A lot of news yesterday, though, to talk about when it comes to crypto. There was a Senate Banking Committee hearing looking into the debanking of the crypto industry. And get ready to fall out of your chair. Guess who's the new spokesperson for the crypto industry? My girl, Elizabeth Warren. Liz Warren was pissed off yesterday when she started to hear the numbers and the proving that the crypto industry had been debanked. So we found out she hates banks more than she hates crypto, and she vowed to get to the bottom of it and to make sure the crypto industry is not being debanked. I knew that would get you going there, Steve. Yeah,
I mean, you know, we welcome her with open arms.
Absolutely, like
we
everybody
arms
else.
around her, and then yeah. Look, I get it. If at first they don't succeed, try again, and then if you, I mean, it's like Gandhi, right? First they hate you, then they really hate you, and then they okay, and then they love you, and then they embrace you, and then it's now a new religion. So I get it, but
yeah, and she's still not pro crypto. She just hates banks more. Was my takeaway there.
Who does she like? I don't.
Yeah,
haven't figured
nobody.
it out.
Yeah, she claims the people, but that's not true either. But what we've seen is we've seen open interest come down a little bit. We've seen people get flushed out the leverage. So hopefully we get a little breathing room here. Michael Saylor, we didn't talk about that at all. MicroStrategy had earnings reports, and the most volatile stock on the stock exchange pretty
and
much
let's talk about MicroStrategy. He
pretty
did
much
something.
did nothing, down 1%. That's just an average.
He did something very interesting. He changed the name of the whole company.
He did a bunch of things interesting. Yes, they are no longer MicroStrategy. This chart is incorrect. They are now Strategy B. It was actually incorrectly reported a lot of places. They said it's strategy, but if you look, it's actually strategy with a Bitcoin symbol following it. Yeah, he talked about they raised another $600 million above what they expected to buy Bitcoin. They're going to start that. They're going to complete. They're already going to be 50% of the way through what was a 3-year project to buy $21 billion in Bitcoin. They're going to be halfway there in under 6 months, it looks like.
Yeah.
Couldn't be more bullish. The problem here is their earnings reports. I pointed it out in our chat yesterday. They report a negative EPS because of the fact that they report under the old reporting system for accounting, and they take a loss on their Bitcoin holdings right now. They only do write downs. They don't get any credit for when Bitcoin goes up. So they actually put a EPS down of negative $3.03. But if you take their profits on Bitcoin into account, their profit was over $33 a share.
Right.
So, and it's an interesting one for me because next quarter they announced they are going to report under the new reporting scheme. So you're going to see them go from earnings of negative $3 to earnings somewhere in that 30 to 40 range per share. So should be interesting to watch for sure.
President Trump will sign an executive order to have Pam Bondi, the new AG, to lead a task force to eradicate anti-Christian bias.
Okay. I will say I've been surprised at the movement that's gotten behind Trump in Gaza, to be honest with you. That's had more legs than I thought it would have. What do you think there? We don't really talk much politics here, but I did think that was an important one. And
I found that it was interesting that Hamas was talking about it over the last couple of days, that we don't care. We're still going to be in Gaza. Palestinians will not be moving out of the Strip. For those of you who don't know about the area, it is the area between Israel and Palestine, and it's a very small area. It's about 3 miles. I've actually been to the border, and I can tell you there are a lot of Palestinians who live on that area, a lot of mixed, and that is where a lot of the concerns are when it comes to where they live and how they live. And Gaza has been that way for thousands of years, and will continue to be. So, I don't know, why are we concerned with the Gaza Strip so much? I'm not really sure. I mean, is it Bibi, screaming, "Hey, we've got to protect the border of Israel"? I'm not sure.
No, it seems like Trump sort of came up with this on his own, so to speak.
I mean, I watched the chief of staff's face when he mentioned it from the Oval Office. And
yeah, I saw that too. He was like,
yeah,
like what did you just say?
Another
one you got to talk about here today, Steve, is SWKS. I thought this was sort of interesting with Heidelberg being out of business nowadays, because this was exactly the same thing that they went after a couple of their last ones on. Skyworks gets half of their earnings basically from one company, Apple.
That's correct.
And Apple has announced that they are reducing that contract, and at some point will actually be doing that. So, and
You know, if you talk about acquisitions, and I know Apple doesn't do it, if any company was to be acquired, I could see Skyworks being acquired by Apple. It would be a smart move. They have the distribution with them already. They can make their own chips. They can make those M4 chips faster, the M5 chip, M6, or whatever, the M25 next, right? Whatever it is. Skyworks does that, and their chipset is a little cleaner, and I do like that. So, hey.
That could be interesting then. I mean, again, their earnings weren't bad outside of that news. They are a strong company, as Jay talked about with some of these others that have been sort of irrationally down. This would probably fall into that range where maybe you do look for the pop here.
He reports that Indian food delivery company Zomato's platform will now change to be rebranded as a company called Eternal. And they have just unveiled their new logo by Reuters. I think I'll put that up here somewhere. Interesting.
Yeah, that definitely is. Another, we were joking about fast food, but I don't know if you saw Yum had their earnings this morning and up nicely here, 7.33%. I did pull up here some of the highlights of their earnings, and I did it more because, as he mentioned, McDonald's is coming. As Jay mentioned, McDonald's is coming up, same sort of business. Yum talked about the fact that they had a strong Q4 and their digital growth, global expansion, and innovation in restaurant concepts has them optimistic for sustained growth projections. They saw 7% system sales growth and 8% core operating profit growth. So, 5% unit growth. So Yum actually looking pretty good, with their numbers.
Yum China is what we were talking about, as KFC and a few of those companies. Are they really eating that much over there in China with these U.S. companies? I don't think the answer is yes.
This is actually Yum brand. This isn't the Yum China. This is Yum. Just
regular Yum brands. I'm sorry. Yes.
Yeah. This is Yum brands, the U.S. version of it.
Yeah.
But that's what surprised me. I think that's why it's up so much. It had been beaten down to death because no one was. And then they showed strong earnings in some of the unhealthiest food in the world, Burger King, KFC, and Taco Bell. So I was a little surprised by this number here.
I'm not buying the stock.
One that I'd be more looking, I was about to say, I'm more looking to sell the hype here, sell the news, especially if it approaches that 142 area again. You can see how once it got knocked down there in September, it dropped all the way down to 130. So I do think Yum is one here that I would not be necessarily buying the hype and might be looking to short today.
Yeah.
And as we take a look here, tick down 239, continuing to slide here, but all four major indices, I count the rut. I know other people maybe don't, but I think small caps are important to what we're doing here, especially under the new administration and their USA first sort of approach. All of them are up. QQQ leading the way. Again, Mag 7 sort of doing that with NVIDIA up 1.58%. Microsoft up over a point, Meta up over a point, and Amazon up 0.7 of a point. We talked a little bit, Steve. We got Amazon going into earnings today. Any sort of predictions or play there you're looking at?
I think the two numbers you got to look at for Amazon is the streaming. How is streaming doing? And not just streaming for video, but also streaming for music, because I think that they just raised the prices on the streaming of the music. And I'm seeing a lot of disgruntledness over that. I don't know why, because I think their family plan's going up by $3, so they give you all free audiobooks. I can understand that. And I think the second number you got to look at is AWS. You saw Google Cloud not coming in very well. Google has their own problems with Google Cloud. They've got their issue with it's breaking down. Actually, they've oversubscribed. But at AWS, are they picking that up from Google? And I don't think the answer is yes right now. I think you're going to see AWS start to actually, and I know it's expensive, so that they will start to lower their prices at AWS. I think you're going to see that. I think if you see margins at AWS come down a bit, then they're having to negate the losses there that we saw at Google Cloud. So I expect Amazon to beat, but not give great guidance.
Okay. My question to you was going to be about the cloud, with the other cloud major hyperscalers all performing less than expected.
Correct.
That being done somewhere, though. So we're still using the cloud. So does Amazon be the only one that is AWS actually provided get a beat on their cloud? And does that, give them a rocket ship?
Are you asking that is Amazon picking up the slack from the other companies?
Yeah,
I think the answer is probably not.
Okay. Do you think it's Oracle and these sort of newer entries, the MongoDBs, the sort of
MongoDB for sure, especially with AI? I mean, we use MongoDB here. I can tell you that the new Sphere is awesome. But I can also tell you that, but no, I don't think so. I think
Palantir maybe getting a little of that.
Palantir is winning the war here. Yeah,
okay.
No doubt about it. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's what I was wondering, because for years, let's face it, there was only 3 major players when it came to hyperscalers, Microsoft, Google, and Amazon, and everybody else was a ne'er-do-well. Right. And what we're seeing, though, now is that's what I was curious about, and what I sort of thought is that we did see that. I do have Paul Frederick here reaching in saying that he's looking at Valet as a Palladium player, asking about Valet. I know you've always been a fan of that. South American company.
Yeah, I mean, listen, one thing I like about them a lot is when they dig for everything. They don't just dig for a few things. I like them. I agree.
From a technical spot, they look pretty good too. They've held nicely above this 50-day MA here over the past week. At this 963, you got a pretty good run up. You can see you're looking to get up towards this 200-day MA and this former resistance at 11. And we will definitely ask Mr. Thomas later on today for you there, Paul, too. But Steve likes Valet here. And we've here at Quasar have been big fans of Valet over the years for sure.
Yeah.
And anybody else that has any tickers you want us to take a look at, anything like that, definitely feel free to put it in the comments, and I do try to get to them as soon as we see them. Steve, I ask you every day, we're getting towards that time. We've seen now the RUT go negative. Dow is coming close to going flat on the day. The SPY and the QQQ up about 0.2, although I see them both dropping here as we're speaking. What do you think we see here today?
Flat day. I think that for me, I got to watch the volume. I think the volume is dying already, and we're getting close to the end of the week, so probably. I will tell you, I am looking at Quantum Biopharma, QNTM, up 83% here. Look, the volume there is only 8 million shares. I get it, but they're getting a huge influx of money. So look at that. QNTM up 83%. It is halted, it looks like. So could be a runner here.
And as you mentioned, you beat us to the punch there, but they have raised a huge amount of money from Celsius, it looks like. So one of the leading New York banks is going to get them. So you've definitely nailed that one there.
Let's see what happens. They are halted here.
This is one I usually like to look on this chart, as you know. Man, this is a tough one to look at because there's nothing to the left to sort of.
No, there's not.
They give you a thing. I mean, the day they went public, they dropped down tremendously.
And there could be a situation here where we see a sell-off back to the norm here. So,
yeah, this is one I normally look for a mean reverse. I'd let it play out and then look for about a half back mean reversion that we talk about a lot with Jeremy Vreeland here on the show. Here it's moved up from 4 to 15. Look back for a pullback towards this 10 area here on any kind of weakness. So, people are in heavy profit here. Someone's going to start to take it eventually, and that's going to move the market. Okay, that is going to do it. Oh, I actually got a couple of, let's see here what people are asking. So
bring it on. I'll stick around.
Ron is asking about BBAI. BBAI.
Oh, of course. Good old BBAI. Yeah. Big Bear. So it's all AI, right? I mean, it's all AI right now. The world is. The problem with AI right now, and I'll tell you the same thing, it's still about profitability. Is AI profitable? The answer is not yet. But it will be, and it'll be very, very profitable. We know that firsthand here. But you look at it from the perspective of next generation. Big Bear is right in the forefront of that. They had a nice run yesterday, Probably some profit taking today, probably even more profit taking coming back. But I do like Big Bear. I think they're on the forefront of it. I still like C3 AI. For me, that's kind of still the big one. Right. It's all about these contracts that are coming in.
Contract. That's what I was going to point out. Is you were the one that pointed that out earlier today. Is that's the key, is getting these government contracts.
And when you get one, you don't get one, you get 100 of them. So
right, because now your foot's in the door, you're approved vendor, you've gone through the GSA, you've gone through all the hurdles that it takes to get a contract. For those that don't know, Steve and I spent a lot of time on the Beltway or within the Beltway, and that is definitely the case. So, Ron, that's a great catch there on BBAI here. I, again, from just a straight technical point, would be looking for a pullback somewhere into the $6 area, probably, before I get into that. Let it play out a little bit, but at that $6 halfback area looks very interesting. I'm putting that one on my sheet here, Ron. Thank you very much. Everybody, that's going to do it for us here this morning. We do have, as I just mentioned, have Matthew Tuttle, the CEO of Capital Tuttle, with over $4 billion of money under management, and Jeremy Vreeland of Bullish Bears up doing their show, The Watch List, at 11:30. After that, we do have Prosper Trading back in the house at 1 o'clock. And then, as I mentioned, I'm back in at 2 o'clock with Peter Thomas to talk commodities. Right after I finish with him, I'm on with Charlie Moon, will be coming in to talk momentum stocks here today. So we are ready to go today. Paul, C3 AI is definitely a partner with Microsoft for sure. And to mention, just to go back to your other mention, Valet is also known for having a big dividend. It's good for that. Skyworks, though, I'd be worried about that dividend moving forward if they're going to lose 25% of their business with Apple. So I would warn about that. Again, thank you for joining us, everybody. We will, Ron loves our cast for today. We will see you later on, everybody. Have a fantastic day.